Senator Kit Bond, Republican from Missouri, is the author of a new book called The Next Front, Southeast Asia and the Road to Global Peace with Islam. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, Libby. I wrote the book with the co-author, Lou Simons.
Excellent, yes. And tell us what made the two of you collaborate on this book, because as you were telling me before we started, you have very different perspectives, but you do agree on Southeast Asia.
I've spent a good bit of time in Southeast Asia. Starting when I was governor, I went there on economic development, trade, and investment trips. As a senator, I've been visiting the region and found it's a very important region because it's our fifth largest trading partner, and most people have no idea what it's about. The only time they hear about Southeast Asia is when an earthquake or a tsunami hits. But they're very important strategically. The Straits of Malacca, they control as 50% of the world's petroleum commerce. After 9/11, they're also home to some of the deadliest terrorist groups in the world. Jemaah Islamiyah, an ally of Al-Qaeda, was scheduled to be the second wave of 9/11 attacking Los Angeles. But I was lucky to find Lou Simons, who'd spent 35 years as a journalist in Southeast Asia, and he'd won a Pulitzer Prize. We agreed that smart power is the only way to reach out to Muslim countries, to convince them that the United States is not their enemy, to show them that we want to work with them on a broad range of issues, then creating more jobs, building schools, teaching them, providing them better means in agriculture, and providing investments that will help their economies grow and get people employed.
And the two of you write smart power is civilians in sandals versus force, which is soldiers in boots.
That's correct. We would rather be putting American volunteers and tourists and business people into those countries so we can assure that strong mainstream governments like President Yuhono has in Indonesia can stay in control and help their population, as well as assuring that the terrorists don't get a safe haven to attack them, their neighbors, or the United States.
Let's take a look at you and your co-author's words about Indonesia. You write, in Indonesia, officials estimate that 2% of Muslims fit within the radical rubric. While initially that seems reassuring in a nation of 238 million, 90% of them Muslim, 2% works out to be well over 4 million. How great do you think the threat could be coming from Indonesia?
I think that Indonesia has done an excellent job. We've provided them help. They've cracked down on the terrorist groups. Unfortunately, there were dual bombings by one of the terrorist organizations in Jakarta. But because of effective police and intelligence work, they were able to eliminate Norden Top, one of the leading terrorists who'd organized, planned, and executed not only the recent bombings in Jakarta, but many others.
We're talking with Senator Kit Bond. He co-authored the book with Louis Simons, The Next Front, and it's about Southeast Asia and the road to global peace with Islam. You mentioned that there's so much focus on the Middle East, and we've obviously put a lot of, the United States has put a lot into Afghanistan, Iraq, even Iran now. What is the administration and the Congress seeing from Southeast Asia? You mentioned Americans are largely sort of in the dark about this, but what about the higher echelons?
Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of attention on Southeast Asia. There are more Muslims in Southeast Asia than there are in the Middle East. My son was a Marine intel officer, a scout sniper in Iraq. We're very proud of him and all the other American troops who served boldly there. But we want to focus the attention of my colleagues in Congress, more people in the administration, and more American people on the importance and the real exciting opportunities we have for better friendship, as well as not tourism, but economic opportunities in that region.
Let's go to Doris, who's calling on the Democrats line from Chicago. Good morning.
Good morning. I just think that I'm really not going to listen to Senator Bond. That's just such a contradiction about the Republican Party that was doing all the fear-mongering and screaming about President Obama, saying that we need to talk to people. And they were just, I I just don't know what to say. But they were just upset. You can't talk to these people. And we know the Republican Party just, they really don't like any people of color or any other religion.
Unfortunately, Doris, you are just dead wrong. I regret to tell you that you have drunk the Kool-Aid. We believe in outreach. We believe that we can and must get along with all peoples of the world and all religions. That's one of the reasons we wrote this, to focus on the Muslim world, which is very important to us. I live in a small town in central Missouri, and we have a lot of people, fine people from Muslim countries who come in. They're doctors, they operate motels, hotels, they're scientists, and they are a very valuable part. As far as people of color, I'm very proud to say that many of my good African American friends in Missouri support me, and I value their support. What we say is, what we have said and I have said, that we cannot change Ahmadinejad in Iran or Kim Jong-il in North Korea by talking with them. They have talked with us, and they've told us they're not doing anything. We've caught them red-handed in lies. It's time that we use effective sanctions against them. I think you've missed that point. I'm sorry you have such a bad view. I think it's uninformed.
Let's go to Blake on the Republicans line, calling from Missouri.
Yes, Senator Bond. The previous caller was worried about who Republicans would or would not talk to, but it seems that now we can't talk to, the one group we can't talk to is the prisoners we've caught who have been involved in terrorism. What do you think about Attorney General Holder's attempt to prosecute those who were interrogating the terrorists we have managed to capture?
Unfortunately, Eric Holder is now doing something he promised me before his confirmation he would not do. He is going back, he has launched a broad-scale criminal investigation of issues and people who were investigated back 5, 6, 8, 10 years ago and found either not to have, if there was one contractor who was prosecuted by the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice looked at the cases that had been highlighted by an Inspector General's report. They pointed out some excesses. The ones who, the CIA personnel who did those have been disciplined by the agency. And now Attorney General Holder has put everybody in the CIA who has been engaged in collecting information under the threat of criminal prosecution. That means our Senate committee, which was trying to go back and look at interrogation, can't really question anybody who is involved. If you remember the old Law and Order story, anything you say may be held against you. You have a right to remain silent. And they will have to, as long as there is a criminal investigation, going back and reopening the cases that have been closed after review by career Department of Justice officials. I really regret what he's done. It has put our CIA agents, who are on the front line in the battle against terrorists, in a position where they have to protect themselves and cannot take the risks that they need to get the information to keep us safe.
Let's take an excerpt from your book. You and Mr. Simons write, "It would be tempting, understandable even, for Americans to quickly size up Muslims of Southeast Asia as our kind. We could assuage our consciences with the belief, doubtless held by many Americans, that the United States already has done more than enough to help Muslims to no avail. The real issue, however, is that what we have done until now has simply been wrong." What have we done wrong, and how can that change?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you reading the book. It's always nice to know that somebody has read it. I hope more of your viewers will read it. There are two things that have really concerned the Muslims. We have gone to war to protect Muslims in Bosnia and Kosovo and other areas. But the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have been characterized by al-Qaeda as a war against Islam. And quite frankly, one of the difficult issues is that Muslims, even in Southeast Asia, view our support for Israel as being indication that we are against all Muslims because the people of Palestine, of course, are followers of Islam.